Next, we want to look at a couple specific types of probabilities. So we have and probabilities, we have or probabilities, and we're also going to look at what we call conditional probability. And so with and probability, we have what we call, when we're working with and probabilities, we're actually going to do multiplication. This might be a little confusing at first because generally when we think about and, we think about addition, so 7 and 5. We think about that as addition in normal terms, but because we're working with fractions, we're actually talking about multiplication. And so there are two types of and probabilities. There's independent probabilities, and then there's dependent probabilities. And so an independent probability is one probability or event does not influence the other probability or the other event. Whereas with a dependent event, the outcome of one event affects the outcome of the other event. So let's do this. So these are our definitions. Let's look at a couple of examples. So let's say that we're rolling 2 dice. Okay, so what's the probability of rolling a 6 and a 1? So when we roll a 6, we have 1 out of 6 opportunities. When we roll a 1, we have also 1 out of 6 opportunities. And remember, we're going to talk about multiplication here. So we multiply these together, top times top, 1 times 1. Bottom times bottom, a denominator times denominator, so we get 1 out of 36 opportunities. How about rolling, the probability of rolling 4 6s? Notice that this time the word and is not included in here. So if the word and, it's implied that if the word and is not there, then it is an and probability. All right, so, well, we have 4 6s, so that's 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6. Or we can say this is 1 6 to the 4th power, or whatever that value happens to be. Again, we don't always have to or we don't have to write all of these out. All right. How about the probability of, oh wait, let me start with what we have. So that was rolling 2 dice. Now if we have this was just rolling 4 6s with 1 dice. Now let's have a committee, and in our committee, we're going to pick out 3 people. And we're going to pick out, and the people that we can choose from, there are 12 women and 9 men. And we want a committee, so what's the probability that we pick out 3 men? Now again, notice that the word and is not in here. Okay, so let's see what we can come up with, and then we're going to talk about if this is really an independent event or not. So if I want 3 men, so I pick 1 man, so that's 9 possibilities out of 21 times, well, wait a minute, I don't have 9 more men because I've already picked 1. So this is actually not an independent event because we don't have 9 men anymore. We've picked them, we've pulled 1 away, so it no longer is independent, it's now dependent. So actually, what we want to do is think about this as a dependent event. So again, the dependent event is when one outcome affects the other one. So we're going to just move this over, and this is how we segue into knowing the difference between a dependent event and an independent event. So if something is going to be affected, so I've already picked out 1 of these men, out of the total. Now I only have 8 men, but I have 20 total people to pick from because I've picked a man out. Now I need to pick one more, so now it's 7 out of 19. And we can do the math for that, but you always want to write this out first. The numerical calculation is just something you would do on a calculator. So again, a dependent event is something that happens if that event is going to affect the outcome of another one. Let me give you one more dependent event. Let's suppose that we have a bag of M&Ms. And in our bag of M&Ms, we have 16 blue ones, 16 blue candies, 5 green, 7 yellow, so 7 yellow, and 6 red. So we want the probability of picking out 2 let's see, 2 blue ones and 1 green one. Okay. So we first need to figure out how many total candies we have. So let's add up 16 plus 5 plus 7 plus 6. We end up with 34 total candies. And I want 2 blue ones, so I'm going to pick out one of those. So I have 16 out of 34. Because they're M&Ms, I'm going to eat my M&Ms. So I'm going to now have only 15 out of 33. And now I want to pick out a green one as well. So I have 5 green ones right now, but I only have 32 candies left in the bag. So that would be a dependent. So again, independent is when we are not influencing, and dependent is when we are influencing.